All right, welcome to Saturday, April 16th. Good to see you. We're all back in our place. Hopefully you made tax day yesterday. I mentioned that yesterday, but I was lost in the video. I guess you have till Monday. But today's reading will be 1 Kings chapter 16 through 18. So let's go ahead and hit it, shall we? So a lot of the story in here is going to be talking about war, betrayal, back and forth, death. Some of these guys are expounded more in Chronicles. But the question just comes up, why didn't they just do it God's way? Okay, yeah, I might have to delete that out of the video. But Omri, Athaliah, Jezebel, and we're coming up on Ahab. A lot of fun kings in here. Now, if you ever sit down with pen and paper, you'll see that the dates don't always line up perfectly. And what we have to remember is sometimes the kings overlap with regents. And so when it says somebody, the son reigned in their stead, it could be that the son reigned in the, for 2 years together before the father passed away. Of course, you probably didn't even notice that unless you put penciled paper on that. Now, chapter 17, along comes Elijah. And what we have to remember here is the prophets that we're going to be covering are trying to keep Israel and Judah on track, trying to keep them from being carried away, trying to keep God's blessing on them. And so, God made provision for them to listen. They just didn't listen. But Elijah comes along, and this is going to be good. So now we find Elijah stops the rain for 3 years. This is one of the reasons that people believe that Elijah is one of the two witnesses in Revelation, because he stops it from raining for 3 years. So God feeds Elijah, and eventually the creek dries up and moves to Zaraphath and stays there with a widow. Now notice he said here, prepare for me first. Can you imagine the news coverage that this would have gotten? Preacher demands dying widow and son make them meal first. Whenever I get here, I think of a funny story. Maybe you've heard it before. We were going to a church. This has been before we started ours. And of course, the pastor was not as aware of some culture that my wife and I were. And so this pastor was speaking on this story about the barrel of meal that never ran out. And so the pastor said, we have to learn that when the barrel's empty, that we just need to stick our head down the barrel and praise God out the bunghole. Lisa and I weren't aware that barrels have bungs. We weren't aware of bung fittings or bung holes. We thought that this was the only thing we knew was a 1990s reference that included two idiot kids on their couch, a cartoon, and I don't know how we held it together. We couldn't breathe. We were laughing, trying not to distract anybody. I'm sure we did, but nobody else was laughing. Nobody else knew the reference. Good for them. Their son dies and is raised from the dead. I believe that Elijah will do 7 total miracles. Now, chapter 18, we have Elijah and Obadiah. This is not the Obadiah that writes a book of the Bible later. And notice in verse 17, Ahab. Is it you who troubles Israel? That's the ultimate in gaslighting. We see a lot of that going on even now. But now we're getting called to Mount Carmel, or is it Carmel? Who knows? But man, great story coming up. Elijah mocks the prophets of Baal. Perhaps your God sleepeth, he pursueth. Maybe he's going to the bathroom, who knows. But when they bring out these 12 barrels of water, remember, it has not rained for 3 years. 3 years. And they're just, okay, we're going to bring these out. And now all of a sudden God sends fire, consumes the sacrifice, consumes everything around it. And then Elijah kills the prophets of Baal. And then looks at Ahab and says, hey, I hear the sound of abundance of rain. Hope you all have a great day, and looking forward to tomorrow being Easter Sunday. I hope in your place in church. I will be. I will not be wearing a new tie or anything pastel. Just so you know. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a great day, and we'll catch you later.